Welcome to our family service this morning. Just next week, we've got Mother's Day is coming up, and we'd just love to invite you back. Or if you regularly come, you can look forward to a lovely morning tea. The kids have been preparing something as well, and with a couple of our youth have been helping with a project. And so come along, have morning tea, have the service with us. We're going to have a panel of amazing women and mothers on the stage just answering some questions and sharing their heart. So we would love to see you here if you can make it. And now I'm going to hand over actually to the kids, because once a month, first Sunday of the month, we have a family service. So if you consider yourself a kid, I'll leave it open. You are welcome to come and sit down here, just over here on the floor. Now, in Kids Church last week, we prepared some questions to grill Pastor Rowan. So I hope he's ready. So come on down. I've got your questions. If you can't remember them, I've got them for you to read out. So just come on down here. I've put them in order. Yeah, that's right. All right. And if we could have just a chair up for Pastor Rowan, that would be great. Thank you. And yeah, hey guys, if you could sit on the floor, that would be great. And I'm going to call you up, okay, when it's your turn. All right. Thank you, Elijah. You can hit that button.
Need the audio. Go back and put the audio on again.
Okay, all righty. If I would like Elise, do you need your question piece of paper? Sure, okay, so you can read it out. There you go. Now, there's a piece of green tape I'd like you to stand on. Here you go. Just, so there are some rules. So Pastor Rowan has a bit of a challenge. He's got 60 seconds to be able to wrap up the question.
Oh, that's dangerous. That's not going to happen.
Now, if it's not satisfied, we've also arranged... Sorry, man. Thank you. We've also... Oh, there we go. How? Thanks.
Super organised.
We love the production team.
Yeah.
They just... Thank you. And if he can't satisfy the questions, we've actually invited Pastor Rowan into Kids Church a bit later in June, so he can wrap up anything that's not answered properly. But I'm sure he'll do a great job. 60 seconds.
I'm not so confident.
So you're going to stand when you come up.
This is harder than being on the Bible. Wait, what? These are tougher questions than you guys can throw at me.
And he's pretty much on the spot, okay?
Yeah.
So he hasn't pre-read the questions. So guys, when you come up, come and stand on to the little green cross here. Confidently speak into the microphone.
Come on, Lacey. What have you got for me?
And Elijah, you got the timer ready? Thank you so much. Oh, and just so you know, we are not live streaming the kids. Hopefully at home you can still hear the audio. We've got a holding screen that will go up in between, and that's why we've got everything sorted here on stage. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. What does Jesus mean as a name?
What does Jesus mean as a name? The timer is on. The Hebrew word for Jesus is Yeshua. Y-E-S-H-U-A. Yeshua, which means Yahweh saves. It means God saves. It's the same name as Joshua in the Old Testament, and it means God saves, which is what Jesus does, because God saves us. And I did it with 20 seconds to spare. How about that one? Good question. Very good question.
All right, Hugo, you're next. Where's Hugo? There you are. Going up. Yep.
Come on, Hugo.
What's your favourite Bible verse?
What's my favourite Bible verse? Someone who said Jesus wept. I feel like weeping right now. My favourite Bible, one of my favourite Bibles. I have lots of favourites. The whole Bible's my favourite. It's a hard question. I think probably Colossians chapter 1 is probably one of my favourite ones, a passage about the greatness of Jesus, that by him and for him and through him all things were made. Nothing was made that has been made without Jesus. He is the creator of everything. That's one of my favourite ones. I can't remember the exact verse, but I know how to quote it. Thanks, Hugo. That's good, mate. Well done. Good job. Mac's already told me that he's ready to go, aren't you, Mac? You coming up, Mac? You want Melanie to come with you? Come up here, Mac. Come and stand up here on the cross.
Do you want Zion to stand with you?
You can stand there too, Zion. You can be moral support for Mac. Sounds good. Okay, Mac, go.
Did Jesus make the houses?
Did Jesus make?
The houses.
Did Jesus make the houses? Wow, what a good question. That's like harder than anything on the Bible. Wait, what did I ever get? Did Jesus? No, Jesus didn't make the houses, but Jesus made people. And with people, he made us with an ability to be creative and make things. And make the houses, that's right. So Jesus made us creative, and then because we are creative, we can make things. We can make this building, and we hopefully be able to make it so it wouldn't rain and leak as much, but we can make things. But because time's running out. Okay, yes, so Jesus didn't make the houses. Thanks for that, Zion. Jesus didn't make the houses, but Jesus made us, and then he made us the ability to make the houses. There we go. Thanks, Mac. Good on you, buddy. Now it's Zion's turn. Come on, Zion. Oh, he hasn't even got notes. This kid's ready to go. Stay there. That's it. Hang on, wait for the microphone.
Okay. Do bugs go to heaven?
Do bugs go to heaven? One of the first questions I want to ask God when I get to heaven is, why cockroaches? That's what I want to ask him. Why cockroaches?
And why any bug?
Why any bugs? You know what I think? Simon and I talked about this on our podcast, so stay tomorrow morning. We talked about the fact that God is going to make all of creation new.
But do bugs
go
to heaven?
Yeah, okay, thanks. All right. I think there will be bugs in heaven.
Okay.
I think all of creation is beautiful, and one day God will redeem all of creation, including bugs and cockroaches and mosquitoes. There we go. Gee, he's keeping me on point there. You didn't, like Simon. Simon said to one point, I gave this big spiel. He goes, but you didn't answer my question. And then Zion did the same thing. So I'm under the pump here. All right, go, Jaira.
How did Jesus get his powers to make us?
How did Jesus get his powers to make us? We're moving into the realm of philosophy now. Oh, what a good question. Jesus is the creator. He already has all the power to make everything in the whole universe. I don't know how he got that power. The Bible doesn't tell us how he got that power. The Bible just says on the very first page, in the very first verse, it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the universe, and he made everything. And he just did that because he's God, and he's all-powerful and almighty, and he can do it. I can't give a more complicated answer than he just can do it because he's God. Is that okay? Anyone want to have a go at answering that question any bit? Anyone who says no, you can take over because that's as good as it gets. Good question though. A very good question, Jaira. She's got 5 seconds. She's waiting. There we go. We got to the end. We wanted to get one of them. Thank you, Jaira. All right. Who's next? Isla. Are you saving like some of the really complex long ones to the end? So, okay. What have you got, Isla?
How did people know that, like, what happened in the Bible when they weren't there? Like, what to write?
How do people know what happened in the Bible
when they
weren't there?
She means, like, who wrote Genesis? Like,
Yes.
how did Moses know what happened?
Okay, when he wasn't there. So in ancient times, like the time of Moses, they didn't have a whole lot of writing. Writing came about the time of Moses. Writing came, but in ancient times there might have been some writing on caves and things. But generally speaking, people told they told stories through what they call oral tradition, where they would just almost like we'd sit around the campfire and tell stories. And so people passed down information by telling stories that the next generation would listen to, and then they would learn, and then they would remember it, and then it was passed down through generation to generation until one day someone like Moses sat down and actually wrote down all those stories that form up the history of God's people from the beginning until the end. So that's how that worked. It was all written down much later, but it's pretty reliable because these stories were told over and 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 over again? Yeah, very good. Good question.
Thanks, Isla. Come on, Aurora's
Aurora.
turn. Do you want to say it? Bit shy. All right. Do you want me to ask it? All right. Aurora wants to know that when Jesus died on the cross in those 3 days when he was dead, who looked after and cared for all the kids and all the people?
Oh, wow. That's the toughest question of all, Aurora. What a good question. Such a good question. I have to think about that one without getting too philosophical or theological. God looked after all the children because even when Jesus was in the grave before he rose again, he was still God, and he was somehow, in some strange way that is beyond our imagination, even though he was dead, he was still alive, and he still kept his power. In fact, I think he actually was able to use that power to keep us alive because he had died. I know that's not probably the answer that Aurora's looking for. I'm trying to answer it in a way in 10 seconds that Aurora can do it. God was even alive even when Jesus was dead. He can be alive, he's alive all the time, and he loves us, and he always cares for us. Yeah. He cares for you, Aurora.
Thank you.
It's actually hard to answer these questions at the right level, actually. Some of them are quite deeply theological and philosophical.
Hello.
Hello. What do you got for us?
When was the first Bible made?
Ooh, the first whole Bible?
Yes.
Do you mean like in a book or in a scroll or?
In a book.
In a book. The Bible as we have it today was made in about 330 AD, so about 1,700 years ago. That's a long time ago. It's a long time, Finn. 1,700 years ago. We've had the Bible for a long time.
Good to know.
Good to know?
Yeah.
Good. It's been around for a long, long time. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Well done, Finn.
Yes.
All right, we got any more? Two more. What was it?
Printing first, copies were first available in 1454 or 1455.
Yeah, for everybody. Yeah, because the printing press came out. But there was still yeah, for everybody. Yeah, that's a valid answer. But there were Bibles around before that. The church had them. The church had copies of the Bible.
We just wanted to do the wrong one.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? Yeah, that's right. You're just having fun at the back, you cheeky people. But you're right. I probably should have mentioned the printing press and the Gutenberg press, and I didn't. But it's a big word, and it's too hard for the kids anyway. Okay. Yeah, go for it.
In the beginning, there was nothing. What is nothing?
Oh! Did your mum or dad put you up to that question? That's my boy. Nothing is the absence of something. And if you're anything like your dad, you'll just be love. You go home and talk to dad about that. Nothing is the absence of something. We don't actually know what nothing is. We just know what something is. Nothing. Well, that's right. That's the philosophy of it. That's the question. Physicists are trying to work out if nothing is nothing or if nothing is something that we can't see. I think the current prevailing physicist view is that nothing isn't nothing. Nothing is something that we can't see. But it's nothing in the sense it doesn't have any material matter to it. We can't touch it. We can't see it. We can't hear it. But I think nothing is something. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better answer to that, Jethro. No, Jethro is not satisfied with that.
I could not have figured that out myself.
No, he said he couldn't have figured that out himself. Don't worry, I can't figure it out either, and I watch physics. I watch physics documentaries. I still can't figure it out.
Testing.
Yeah, thanks anyway, Pastor Rowan. Yeah, don't worry. That's a tough question. Something tells me this is about to get like next level tough. She's got a whole essay in front of us. So here we go. You ready for this one?
It's
asked this question so many times, but no one's been able to answer it.
I'm
You
going to have a
ready?
crack, but doesn't... Come on, bring it on.
How come God made people make sacrifices to get forgiven for thousands of years until the time of Jesus? Why couldn't God just send Jesus earlier and stop all the unnecessary bloodshed before? God says love your neighbor, and animals are the living things that live around us. So doesn't that make them our neighbors too? If so, why did God make us kill off his own beautiful creation just to please him? It doesn't make sense, and it also doesn't solve our sins because they've already been done. And so I'm just asking, why did we have to kill off God's beautiful creation just to please him? I mean, it's not like animals have done anything wrong, so yeah, why? Good luck, you're going to need it.
So that's about 8 questions. So can we have 8 minutes on the timer?
It's not, it's literal one question.
It's one question. Why? Here's my answer. I don't know if it'll satisfy you, but because it's a really, really good question. My answer is that God has willingly limited himself to work with fallen, sinful human beings and tell his story through all our own brokenness and mess. Humans mess things up, including the concept of sacrifices and so on. And that was the practice, the prevailing view at the time when God revealed himself to Moses and the Israelites. And God took a practice that was really weird, as it was, pagan sacrifice, and he repurposed it in a way to show them a different model. He wasn't... Nah. He repurposed it because he's on a progression. Now,
But why would he purpose that?
Because he was trying to meet the people where they were at the time. You see, if they were in that time, they'd be asking that. They wouldn't be asking the question we were asking
God can
now.
change the times.
He doesn't. They're all multiple questions.
No,
but
what
it's
I
really
mean
good.
is like...
But it's really good. He doesn't because he has chosen to work with the limitations of humanity.
Nah, bye.
Did I do all right? Like, is that okay?
I do it with the
I knew
microphone.
Pepper was going to just like blast me with that one.
Well, they're all the questions. Sorry.
That's all right. No, that's good. Come on up, Melanie.
They're all the questions.
Very good
So
question,
thank you
Pepper.
very much, Pastor Rowan. I
Thank
think you
you.
did very well with
Thanks,
your 60
kids.
seconds. And I'm sure that there will be more questions.
There will be
Later
more
on.
questions. Wonderful. Can you bow on the stage? Can we put the screen up so these guys can take a bow? Come on, come up here and take a bow. Well done, kids. Fantastic. Awesome. Go on, grab a seat. Well, that was fun, if not a little intimidating. My goodness. Oh, thanks, Stefan. I needed that. I didn't ask for it. Melanie asked for it, and the kids asked for it, so I kind of had to go ahead with it anyway. There were some really good questions there. I think Pepper is a philosopher in the making. I reckon she needs to do a Bachelor of Philosophy, I reckon. Definitely. That's some really deep philosophical questions there. Hey, what we're going to do is, for the next few minutes before we finish, I just wanted to just share a couple of a little devotion with you, and then we'll get our team to come up in a minute, and we're going to close out and give you an opportunity for you and your family to have some prayer. Because I realise that, there are all kinds of things that are facing us, as I said earlier in the meeting. I know there are people watching online who aren't here today because they're facing some pretty tough, challenging situations in their world as well. And we're wrapping up our series on the book of Revelation that we've been on for the last little while, and we've completely avoided any kind of predictive end-time prophecy stuff. We've stayed right away from all of that nonsense, and we've tried to make the book into an encouraging book that it's supposed to be, a book that will enlighten us and inspire. It was written to a people not unlike us in churches, probably not unlike us in size, 7 churches, and it was written to them as they were facing hardship and persecution and all kinds of potential challenges and persecution in the Roman Empire. And it was written to encourage them, to unveil and let them know that behind the scenes, God was in control. And behind the scenes, all the forces of evil that would come against them would one day be defeated. And one day, God would right every wrong. It was written for that reason. It wasn't written to scare. It wasn't written that we could predict the future. It was written to know that there is one prediction, really, one ultimate prediction. That is the overthrow of the powers of darkness and the reigning of the kingdom of light. It was written to encourage God's people about that. Because I know that there's so many challenging times that you're going through, that hope that we all hold to what I've been calling the apocalypse of the eschaton, the revelation of the end. The message of the book is that if you can cling to the revelation of the end, no matter what you face in this life, we have a glorious hope. We have a beautiful future. And if we can cling to that, that gives us the hope to go through and endure. And so in a moment, we're going to read some of the final verses out of the book of Revelation towards the end. But before we do, I thought I'd tie it in with our upcoming Bible reading plan, because we have started this week. We'll finish out Revelation this week, Monday and Tuesday, with our Bible reading plan. And then we're going to move into, for the next couple of weeks, the book of Ecclesiastes. Who's ever read the book of Ecclesiastes? Who's ever been confused by the book of Ecclesiastes? What's that?
Who's breezed over it?
You just breezed, yeah, exactly, breezed over it. And we're going to go into that. And it wasn't intentional that these two books go together in our Bible reading plan, but as I've been reflecting on it, and Simon and I sat down and recorded tomorrow morning's episode this week on Friday, and as I've been reflecting on it, I've realised these two books actually do go together, hand in hand. You see, Revelation is talking about how do we endure through challenges and hard times and maintain that hope in the glorious future. And we can do that, but there's two ways that we can do that. We can go, well, life sucks. Sorry, I should have said that. Life's sucky. Life is hard, but in the end, we're going to win. Or we can go, yes, life is hard, but that future glory that I wait for, I can actually access that glory now. I can take that hope and bring it into the now. Because we can endure and hate life and hope for the future, or we can endure and have abundant life while we wait for the future. And it doesn't mean that we don't endure things, we do. But I actually believe there's a way that we can, with God's help, experience abundant, full life. We can endure life even while we have to endure. We can enjoy life even while we have to endure life. Does that make sense? I think that's a supernatural thing that is available to us. And it's that very question that the book of Ecclesiastes is dealing with. So in the book of Ecclesiastes, it's really the writer, the teacher of the book, who isn't the guy or woman who wrote it down. That was right at the beginning and right at the end. There's like an editor, but most of the book is written by the teacher who's speaking. And this teacher is actually trying to address that very question. Where is purpose in life? How can I find meaning in life? When life is hard, where do I anchor and find purpose and meaning? And he does, because he was the king and had all kinds of power available to him, he goes on basically in his book, he goes on a quest to find the meaning of life. And he searches, and he actually says, you can read it in Ecclesiastes 2, he searches, he tries money, he tries women, he tries alcohol, he tries working hard, he tries enjoying all the riches and the pleasures of this world, he tries all of that. And this is what he says in Ecclesiastes 2 verse 11, I think we've got that verse up there. He says, after I've tried all of that, he says, but as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. Wow, I've seen that scripture weaponized and all that kind of stuff. But I wonder if you've actually ever felt that way. You've worked, you've struggled, you've been faithful, and it seems like you can't see anything. It seems meaningless. It seems empty. It seems void. And that's what the writer of Ecclesiastes is recognizing. And this whole concept of meaningless, that word meaningless, I think it appears like 28 times in the book of Ecclesiastes. It's a key theme. And the word meaningless, translated in English, is probably not the ideal term. I know why they did it. Because when we think something's meaningless, a bit like the question about that, who had the question about something and nothing? Jethro had that question about something and nothing. It's a bit like that. Meaningless is, we think it's the absence of meaning, but that's not really what the word means. The Hebrew word is hevel, Hevel, and it means smoke or vapor or mist. If you've ever sat around a fire and you watch the smoke go up, it's actually real. And in a way, in a kind of strange kind of way, it's beautiful, isn't it? You know, seeing smoke go up, you can stare into the fire for ages and see it go up. And that's a better understanding of what the writer is saying life is like. It's not that it's without form. It's not that it's without meaning. It's not that it's without beauty. Just like smoke, it can actually be beautiful. But the problem is, just when you think you've got it right, you try to grasp it, it just slips through your fingers. And that's the purpose of the book of Ecclesiastes, because we can get order, we can get structure, but the message is saying you can never quite compartmentalize it. I'd like my smoke to be like this, thank you, and just stay like that. And it's not. It slips through your fingers. That's what it means by meaningless. Just when you think you're going to get some meaning and some purpose, it slips through your fingers. And 3 times that and we're going to look at this in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 18 and 19, this is what the teacher's answer is to coping with this meaninglessness of life, this hevel of life. He says this, and we have that next verse up, Ecclesiastes chapter 5, I think it is, 18 and 19. It says, "Even so, I've noticed this one thing, at least, that is good. All this other stuff is meaningless. But look at this one thing. It's good for people to eat and drink and enjoy their work under the sun during the short life that God has given them, and to accept their lot in life." That's it. We'll just stick to that verse. Go back to that. That's fine. It's good for people to enjoy life. Eat, drink, enjoy life. Now that could sound kind of fatalistic too. But here's what I believe, and this is why it ties in with Revelation. This is why I believe it's a useful message for us. Because even in the hevel, even in the moment where you just think you've got your life sorted and then something just comes through your house and floods your house. Something just upends and there's a death in your family. Something happens financially in your world and just turns you on your head. There's some kind of injustice and it's meaningless. It slips through you. Even then, this is what the teacher found. He realized that he could not get security or purpose or anchored meaning in any of the stuff of life, because the stuff keeps changing. But here's what he said. He said it's actually possible to live in the moment. It's actually possible to experience God in the moment. Even in the moment when it's slipping through your fingers. You can stop and you can go, "Lord, thank you. Thank you for the sun. Thank you for the beach. Thank you that you're with me even in the fire. You're with me even in the flood. Thank you that you're here." And so you don't have to just wait for the final victory. Yes, that will come. But you can also experience God while you're waiting. You can grasp a little bit of the future and bring it into the now. You with me? We're going to get our band to come back. And as they do, I want to read these final verses from, not final verses, but in the second last chapter of Revelation. I want to read about the coming of the end, the final victory. And then I'd love just to pray with you. And we'll open up our altar space. Our band are going to sing this beautiful old song, "Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus." Jill's not here to hear this because this is one of her favourites. We're going to sing this song. And if you would just like someone to pray with you, if you'd just like to come and stand in God's presence and be in the moment, in the middle of the stuff, while you wait for the stuff to go away, while you wait for the final victorious end, God can be with you in the stuff. And if you just present yourself to Him and say, "God, I need you in my life right now. It's hard, it's challenging, it doesn't make sense, it's smoke, it's mist, it's slipping through my fingers. But Lord, I trust you to shape my life while I hang on to the glory of the future." And what we're about to read is the final coming of God's kingdom. It's the end of the arc of the narrative that began in the beginning, right at the beginning in Genesis chapter 1, when God created everything. Created the heavens and the earth, and He put a little bit of heaven on the earth, and He said to the humans, "I want to dwell with you, I want to hang out with you. I want to empower you with creativity so you can go and create the rest of the world and make the rest of the world look like this heaven on earth moment, this Eden." And we know the story that we humans blew that. Like I was saying to Pepper, we blew that. We went our own way. And yet in the middle of that, from the beginning until the end, God has been faithful with His word. The whole narrative arc of the scripture is one day I'm going to fulfill the mandate that I gave to those first two humans. One day, the glory, it says in Psalms, I think it is, or Isaiah, it says, "The glory of the Lord shall cover the earth like the waters cover the sea." One day, God's glory will be everywhere. One day he will use humans and bring about his kingdom. And we wait for that, but we partner with that. If you're a follower of Jesus, you have heaven on the inside of you. And if you stand here and say, Lord, I just need a little bit of heaven today, then you can go into your world and you can bring heaven to the hells around you. You can bring heaven into those things. We can actually take this vision I'm about to read, we can bring a bit of it into the here and now, and we can bring a little bit of this vision into our life, into our family's life, into our friends' lives. So let's read these final words from Revelation 21. Maybe we could stand as we do this. And what I'll do is I'll read these, then I'll hand to the band. And if you just want to come and pray, or you can bring your kids with you if you want to. If the kids are over there, that's fine. And we'll just take 5 minutes or so. I just love to pray. I won't ask you what I'm praying for. I just feel just to lay hands on you and pray with you and stand with you. And you might experience a little bit of God. This is what it says. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had disappeared, and the sea was also gone. Oh, I'm in Thirroul. I can't stop without asking that one because all the surfers are going to say, what the heck is that all about? Don't worry. There'll be oceans in the new creation. Don't worry about it. That's not what the sea represents, chaos and evil. It doesn't mean there won't be oceans. It's a poetic language. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, look, God's home is now among his people, and he will live with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them, and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All these things are gone forever. And the one sitting on the throne said, look, I'm making everything new. And then he said to me, write this down, for what I'm telling you is trustworthy and true. Friends, we are standing here 2,000 years later listening to these words, and they're still trustworthy and they're still true. God is making all things new. And he said, it is finished. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To all who are thirsty, I will give freely from the springs of the river of life. And all who are victorious will inherit all these blessings. And I will be their God. They will be my children. What a beautiful, glorious hope. And right now in this moment, we can experience a little bit of that while we wait for the fulfillment of that. Yes, we endure. And yes, we may even, as many Christians throughout time, have had to endure, even to the point of giving up their lives. Revelation 12 says they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. But even in the enduring, the promise of enjoying is still there. Even through the pain and the suffering, like that song, I see the crown through the suffering. There is a crown available, friends. If you need a fresh injection of hope, if you just need to present yourself to God, why don't you just come and make your way and stand here at the front as these guys sing. Don't hold back. No one's going to judge you if you do or don't come, but I just want to believe this. God has set everything up today to bring us to this moment where we can just experience him just for a few minutes and get a fresh touch of heaven. Don't miss that if you need that. Amen.